They were all gone, vanished without a trace, yet each left behind the same desperate message, carved into stone, painted on cave walls, embedded in whispered myths. They're hiding something far worse. Every lost civilization, from the Olmecs and the Harappans to Atlantis and the forgotten Arctic cities entombed beneath permafrost, warned of a terror beneath our feet, a secret so dreadful it was buried not just under the earth, but under the weight of denial and time. Dr. Ilara Miles, a renowned archaeolinguist, had spent her life following those messages, decoding fractured symbols and cross-referencing ancient prophecies that mainstream academia dismissed as religious paranoia or primitive superstition. But she knew better. There was a pattern. Every civilization had reached a peak of knowledge, discovered something, and then imploded. What they had discovered was not just forbidden, it was cosmic in scale and utterly incomprehensible in horror. Ilara's journey led her to the deep caves of Antarctica, where melting ice had revealed a labyrinth older than any known structure on Earth. Inside, she found not just murals, but instructions, warnings, incantations, and a map carved in a language that predated Sumerian. It spoke of beings who came before time, sealed in a slumber beneath the crust, and of the Watchers, entities that once guarded the prison of this unspeakable force. But the Watchers were dying, and humanity had forgotten why they were placed there in the first place. The seal was weakening. Earthquakes near ancient sites, rising global temperatures, electromagnetic storms. These were not natural disasters. They were signs that the cage was rusting. The thing beneath wasn't a monster in the traditional sense. It was described as the thought that devours thought, a sentient concept, a void with hunger, capable of rewriting reality by simply being known. The ancients called it that listens. The more people became aware of it, the more it grew. Awareness was a disease, and knowledge was its fuel. That was why civilizations vanished. When enough people understood what was beneath, reality itself began to break. Ilara felt the truth creeping into her bones, a voice without sound whispering just beneath her thoughts, guiding her hands as she traced symbols with growing dread. But she couldn't stop. Her obsession had become a compulsion, as if something inside her needed to know, even if it meant her destruction. Governments had long suspected the truth. Why else were so many ancient sites off limits, surrounded by military? But they believed they could contain it, use it. Fools. The last prophecy in the Antarctic tomb was the worst. It predicted a final civilization, ours, would awaken the truth not by accident, but by choice, mistaking it for ultimate power. Satellites scanning the Earth's core had already detected anomalies, vibrations not caused by natural phenomena, pulses like a heartbeat deep below. Ilara's final decoding unlocked the coordinates of a central seal site, somewhere in the year Pacific, where the ocean floor sank deeper than any trench. She uploaded the files to a deadman server, set to release to the world if her signal went silent for more than 48 hours. She knew she wouldn't come back. As she flew over the Pacific, her mind filled with images that weren't hers, endless tunnels of black flesh, stars going out one by one, voices screaming her name in languages no mouth could form. In her final journal entry, written from the research vessel hovering over the target zone, she wrote, "They didn't leave because of war or plague. They left because they remembered. They remembered what lies beneath, and now I fear it remembers us." The sea churned violently as the sonar registered a hollow cavity far too large to exist. Moments before her ship went dark, the ocean split with a roar that wasn't sound, but a thought, a pulse, a hunger. Then silence. Silence was never just silence. After the ship vanished above the Pacific anomaly, the world believed it was merely another deep-sea tragedy, an accident, buried beneath plausible deniability and convenient headlines. But in hidden labs and covert government bunkers, alarms had already begun to ring. The coordinates Ilara Miles uploaded had triggered ancient scripts buried in black site archives, fragments not made by humans, but inherited from civilizations, So old their remnants now lived only in tectonic scars and ocean ridges. The final message she decrypted had unlocked more than knowledge. It had reawakened awareness. And it that listens had begun listening once more. Far beneath the sea, the seal was not shattered but weakened, enough for a ripple, a whisper, to reach upward. On the surface, storms intensified unnaturally. People in disparate corners of the globe began experiencing shared dreams. Black tunnels, flickering lights, voices that spoke their names in childhood tones, always ending with one word, return. In the Andes, a monk wrote pages of symbols he had never learned, then walked into the mountains never to be seen again. In Cairo, an archaeologist broke into the closed-off tomb of an unlisted pharaoh, scribbled, "It knows I know," on the Aidai wall in blood, and vanished. But the worst signs were digital. Satellites captured images they were never programmed to recognize. Blank pixels shaped like spirals, then nothing, as if the machines themselves went blind. A group of elite researchers, handpicked from global institutions, formed an emergency assembly under UN secrecy, named Echo Corps, dedicated to interpreting Ilara's data. Among them was Ilara's estranged brother, Dr. Kieran Miles, a cybersymbologist haunted by dreams he couldn't explain, now obsessed with finding her, or whatever message she left behind. Echo Corps traced her last coordinates to a void in the ocean where electromagnetic readings bent unnaturally, as if something was folding space. When they deployed a drone into the chasm, it transmitted not visuals but a voice. Ilara's voice speaking in reverse, layered with hundreds of others beneath it, all chanting in harmony. It remembers us because we tried to forget. The drone imploded moments later, and every scientist who heard the transmission began losing language within days, their speech fragmenting into gibberish, their writings filled with spirals. But Kieran understood, or rather something inside him began to understand. He found himself able to complete Ilara's symbols, not logically, but instinctively, as if they were memories and not discoveries. One night, during a fever dream, he saw the truth. It that listens was not evil. It was hunger incarnate, yes, but not malice. It had been created long ago, perhaps by beings who sought to eliminate all uncertainty by reducing reality to thought, and so they made a being that devoured all divergent thought, all contradiction, all chaos. But they underestimated its need. It consumed them, then spread, seeking minds to know it, for every mind that knows it feeds it further. That was the curse. Awareness is infection, and humanity, through stories, myths, and finally through Ilara's data, had reawakened it. Kieran told Echo Corps, to study it is to summon it. To name it is to bring it closer. And we've been shouting. But it was too late. Reports surfaced of entire towns going silent overnight. Not dead. Just empty. Airplanes disappearing mid-flight without distress signals. Children drawing spirals with their eyes closed. In one remote Chinese village, villagers pointed at the sky and screamed as their shadows detached and walked away. The world didn't collapse all at once. It unraveled, subtly, elegantly. People began remembering things that hadn't happened yet. Gravity twitched. Time hiccuped. In Tokyo, a scientist opened his lab door to find a perfect replica of himself sitting inside, smiling with black eyes. Kieran's final move was desperate. He activated the last layer of Ilara's code, an algorithmic lock buried in her transmission that, when combined with certain phonetic triggers, could reset the awareness cycle, dull the listening. But it required sacrifice. Kieran read the final passage aloud in the heart of Echo Corps' underground vault, surrounded by quantum interference shielding. The moment he finished, the power died. The screams began. Something had hurt him. Something had come. But before he was consumed, he sent out one last message, fragmented, buried in an ancient cipher, scattered across satellites, hoping someone, somewhere would decode it in time. His last words, distorted but clear, reached only a few. We were never alone, but we were never meant to listen. They didn't bury the truth to hide it. They buried it. to protect us from remembering.